You caught me.
Hi dolls, thank you so much for joining me in my bathtub today. I'm going to go over all my tips and tricks on how to achieve the perfect tan without any sun. Since I've started this beauty vlogging venture, I have been really trying to take the best care of my skin, and of course I'm not going to be tanning in a tanning bed anymore. I used to be the queen of the tanning salon. I can't stress the amount of damage that I actually have on my skin thus far from doing that. I have made a vow to myself to never use a tanning bed ever again, and to only use sunless tanners. I do this routine every 2 weeks. I usually do it on a Thursday night, so really anybody can go to the drugstore and pick up a bottle of sunless tanner. However, over the years I definitely have tried a few different brands and found the perfect formula and the perfect way to apply. You can get different things to exfoliate. There's body scrubs, there's loofahs. I'm a dude. My skin is a lot thicker than a female skin, so I don't really mess around on this part. I actually like to use a bristle brush to go and exfoliate my skin. This one I did pick up at Winners actually. They usually have a pretty big selections of things like this. I'll replace it every so often because it does exfoliate the dead skin off your body. I do my tanning routine about every 2 weeks. And of course, by the end of that 2-week mark, I am left with a little bit of color on some areas where my skin is a little bit more dry and a little bit more porous. I find the bristles on this brush really help to exfoliate and smooth my skin, really helps my skin to breathe. So when I get out of the bathtub, my skin is going to be extra thirsty, it's going to be exfoliated, it's going to be waiting for moisture. So after I get out of the bathtub, of course, I'm going to moisturize a little bit on my drier areas. However, I'm going to apply my tanner on bare skin to get the darkest color possible. Something that I just found recently actually is the Saint Tropez Gradual Tan in Shower formula. This is really cool. It says on the back that you can loofah this on and leave it on for 3 minutes, not standing underneath the water, and it's going to gradually build up your tan. So what I like to do with this one actually is sit in the tub with it, kind of let it soak into my skin. I find it somehow makes my tan last a lot longer. And of course, during the week I will boost my tan by using this in the shower. To set up for my tan, I'll actually set up my tanning sheets. I have a nice just peach colored sheet that I've been using for years to tan with. I don't like to mess up my sheets when I get into my bed with my tanner on. It does transfer. This is something meant to be rinsed off. First, you're going to want your tanning product. I prefer to use the Saint Tropez. I find the neutralizers in this one really, really beautiful. It has dark green neutralizers, which is great for neutralizing orange. So I find after I rinse this off, I have a really nice, dark, burnt looking tan. This is a mousse formula. It does come with a mitt to apply it. I'll use that later on in this video. You'll notice later in the video when I'm applying my tanner, I actually am not going to be applying it to my hands or my feet or my face. I use a completely different formula the next day to achieve a really nice blend. I find that's something that we all really struggle with when we apply sunless tanners. We get orange hands, we get dry patches on our skin, we get streaks. So I find doing it this way, it avoids all those problems. Next, to moisturize all my dry areas before I put on my tanner, I'm going to use the Nivea Firming Body Milk. This one's great. It has macadamia nut oil. I can't stress enough how I need a big ass bottle of moisturizer. I got a lot of ground to cover, so I love the big bottle that this comes in. I can just really slap it on before I do my tanner. So every Thursday before my tan, I'll usually soak in the bathtub for about a half an hour to get my skin really dehydrated, really ready for some moisture. But I'm going to trick it and I'm going to give it some sunless tanner instead. I find this way you really do get the darkest tan. It is really going to cling onto your skin a little bit better. Last thing you'll need is a pair of old winter gloves. Like I mentioned before, I do not tan my hands. I do prefer to wear a pair of gloves overnight to avoid touching my body, to avoid transferring the tan onto my hands. I find that's something that we all really struggle with, is the orange Oompa Loompa hands. So I found a good way around it. I'll just wear an old pair of winter gloves all night, wake up, rinse it all off before I touch my body, and that completely solves the problem. I actually do the next step in my shower to avoid any spillage. Sunless tanner will stain the crap out of anything that it touches, especially this dark formula. So I'm going to finish up my soak here, get my skin nice and prepped for my tan, and I will meet you guys standing up. Like I mentioned during my bath, I'm going to go ahead and put my Nivea Firming Body Milk anywhere where my skin is a little bit more dry, a little bit more porous. This is going to really help for a streak-free even tan. Some people do really like to moisturize their whole body. Sometimes I do if I don't want as much color. However, if I'm looking for a little bit more of a savage tan, if you will, a little bit darker, a little bit deeper, I find leaving my skin a little bit more dehydrated before I put it on and only moisturizing the areas that need it the most. I find I just get a deeper better tan that lasts a little bit longer. I give you guys the full body pan, but my boyfriend gets really jealous. So like I said, I don't mess around when it comes to getting orange hands. So Saint Tropez does give you a mitt. This one's great. It really does help to blend in the product. Of course, I'm going to use this one. I do have a pair of really big, thick, black latex gloves. Nothing's getting through these bad boys. So while I apply my tanner all over my body, I will wear these gloves. That's really going to help me avoid getting any Oompa Loompa hand. I'm going to start applying this. Before you put this on, I can't stress enough giving this a really good shake. I know everybody says that. I know you hear that all the time. However, this has green neutralizers in it, and if they all settle at one spot, you're going to get a really even, nice, beautiful tan in one spot, and you're going to get a really orange tan in the other. So make sure it's really mixed up. I start with my arm and my chest area, and usually about 5 pumps will get this started. You basically just start by swiping on the product and blending it all in. Alright, so as you can see, this already starts to give you some wicked color. I don't recommend putting this on before a night out. This is something that you do want to rinse off before you show the world your beautiful tan. It does have a little bit of a green cast, like I mentioned before. The green is going to help to neutralize the orange when you rinse this all off. So I'm going to go ahead and do my other arm, do the rest of my body, and we'll talk about how I finish up and get ready for bed. So before I get around to my feet area, I have a pair of socks ready that I'm going to pop on to avoid that area altogether. I find my feet do really absorb the color a lot as well, so I do tan those the next day like I mentioned before. Alright, so now that everything is blended out, I have a nice even coat of Sunless Tanner on my body. I look really strange because my face isn't tanned. However, I'm going to go ahead and go to sleep with this on overnight. It says you need a minimum of 4 hours, however, I leave it on for about 8. I find I get a really beautiful, dark, full tan. I'm going to take some of my moisturizer. Really lay this on thick. Like, we really want a nice thick layer of that moisturizer on my hands. You can kind of see the tan difference between my really white hands. After that, I'm going to place on my old winter gloves. For this step, I always recommend walking around the house a little bit. Make sure you have your socks on. Let the tanner dry a little bit. This is a rinse off formula, so it does feel a little bit tacky. It does feel a little bit kind of like your body's dirty. So you're going to want to let it dry a little bit before you lay down in bed. Alright, so at this point, I'm basically ready to just go to sleep. Let the tanner do its thing. You can already see how nice of a job it's doing. It's a really beautiful color. That's why I love this Saint Tropez formula. Basically, I'm going to sleep with this on overnight. I'm going to wake up. I will show you all how it rinses off, and then I will spray my hands and my face, and that will be the perfect tan. I will see you guys in the morning. Alright, so I just woke up. I'm going to go ahead and rinse this stuff off. Then I'm going to moisturize immediately after my whole body using the same Nivea moisturizer. While I'm in the shower, I'm going to take the same loofah and kind of the connection spot between my tan and my hand. I'm really going to go in and blur that line with this brush. This is just going to really help to give us a beautiful blend. I will point out that keeping your tan really moisturized on a daily basis will help it last a lot longer. There is tan amplifiers, there is other creams that you can use throughout the week with the same dihydroxyacetone ingredient in it, so it kind of boosts the tan over the week. Like I mentioned in this shower gel. However, I find I get a really good base tan using this, and I like it as it fades off. Same thing with this formula. I'm going to go ahead and give this a really good shake. Really make sure all those neutralizers are mixed in there. What I'll do is I'll spray my bathtub a little bit just to kind of get the product going. And I'll hold my hand out, and it's just as easy as spraying the place between your wrist and your hand where the color meets. What this does is gradually tans over 3 hours, so it's going to start off a little bit lighter, and then over 3 hours it will match the rest of my tan. I do love the tanner all over my body, however I don't really like to darken my face. I already find I'm really trying to brighten my face, so if I put Sunless Tanner on, I find sometimes it grabs onto dark spots, it grabs onto texture, and I just really don't like the look. So I'm going to hold this one really far away from my face just for a little light wash of color to make everything match. I go ahead and let this develop on my face and hands. It will gradually over the next 3 hours. If I do feel like my face is getting really dark, that's something cool. I can just wash it off and it'll stay at the color that it's at. So if you look at your face, it's the perfect color and you don't want it to go any darker, wash it off your face and it won't develop anymore. I'm going to make sure throughout the week that I am moisturizing a lot. It's going to help it last that whole 2 weeks. You can pick up a bottle of this Saint Tropez Dark Formula at Shoppers Drug Mart for $52. I buy 2 at a time so I don't run out. And I have Sunless Tanner for about 4 months. You can definitely find different lotions. Saint Tropez actually has a gradual self-tanner that would keep this a lot longer. However, I do like it to shed off after that 2-week mark so I can do a completely fresh one. And if I do use something with the same dihydroxyacetone ingredient, it just starts to end up looking a little blotchy, a little fake, a little cheap. So I choose to just let it shed off over the 2-week mark and redo it again. It has been about 2 hours since I sprayed my face to help everything match. You can see I have a really nice blend between my hands and my wrists. It's a beautiful color I find that you get from the Saint Tropez formula. I hope you all found this video useful. I hope you all found some valuable information. I know I struggled a long time trying to find the perfect formula and the perfect way to apply my Sunless Tanner to avoid orange hands, to avoid streakiness, to avoid blotchiness. Thank you all so much for tuning in today, and I will see you all next week. Bye, dolls!